Hi there, Khalid. My name is Ellen, and I'll be correcting these essays for you. Thanks for rewriting this in English. Let's take a look at what you wrote. The bar chart shows the figure of the whole passengers who have been served in all of the following airport terminals: Atlanta, Beijing, Dubai, Chicago, London, Hong Kong. The chart will compare between the mentioned terminals at the year 2014. Okay. Well, there's some good things about this, but there are some errors, particularly in your grammar. So and not even just grammar, it's just phrasing in general. It wasn't particularly natural and it was kind of inaccurate. So let's try it one more time. The bar chart shows figures for the number of passengers who were served in the following airport terminals. And then you want a colon here. And then here you want no D here, but then you want the word and. And that would be okay. It's in the past, so you're not going to use present perfect. Okay? And then that's fine. And then the chart will compare. That's a little strange here. And you know what? I would have gotten rid of this sentence actually, and I would have just said in 2014. This isn't particularly meaningful here, so I wouldn't have written it. So just to kind of recap, I would have changed this paragraph to say the bar chart shows the figures for the number of passengers who were served in the following airport terminals: Atlanta, Beijing, Dubai, Chicago, London, and Hong Kong in 2014. Done. Let's move on. At first, we can tell that Atlanta has the highest bar among the included places, with approximately 7,800,000 served passengers. When we move to the second highest bar on the chart, we will find Beijing standing with an exact 500,000 passengers. Served is what you meant here, but without that bin, okay? All right, let's keep going, and then I'll tell you my thoughts at the end. Moreover, the last 5 terminals have a close rate on 2014. On one hand, Dubai terminal have received 6 million traveler. Okay. On the other hand, Hong Kong has the lowest number comparing with the rest of them, with a roughly 5.5 million passengers at the same year. Finally, over the 2014 year, 7 terminals had to host millions of passengers, and the most famous terminals around the world at that year served around 50 million people. Okay, so a few things about this task. Grammatically, it had a number of mistakes. I would say that the mistakes were consistent. They didn't create a loss of coherence, so I still knew what you were saying, but certainly it's not accuracy that would put you into those top 3 band scores. Okay? So just be aware of that. You had a lot of spelling mistakes as well. Those were consistent, and those are going to lower your lexical resource score. So be careful and work on accuracy. Again, it's the same thing. I knew what you were saying, but they were consistent enough to keep you out of that top tier of scores. Now, as far as task achievement goes, there were a couple of problems. I am assuming that you meant this to be your overview. I'm not really sure. However, it doesn't feel like an overview because it has too much data and it doesn't really tell us the main thing, the most important trend in this chart. In fact, I would go so far as to say this doesn't really have an overview. Okay? It's all detail, all of it. So from here to here, there's no one place where you really give us an overview. Now, what that means is that as far as task achievement is concerned, that's going to put you at band 5 at best. Okay? I don't think there was anything else that would get you anything lower in task achievement. So just keep that in mind that without a clear overview, you cannot get anything higher than a 5. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. Now, apart from that, I thought there was more work you could do with this. I'm not really a huge fan of this particular task, this particular bar chart, just because there's really very little to do with it. I mean, you can see that there's very few pieces of data, and there are very minimal differences between like the last 4 for sure. So that makes it really difficult to write on, and it's difficult to write anything around 150 words. That said, you do need to extend, and in something like this, because these do occur every now and then, you just need to find ways to extend this in a way shows comparison, shows some critical thinking, and so forth. Okay. um so, what do I mean? Well, for example, you talked about Atlanta. So, you just really need to highlight some of this stuff. Okay. But it's not just that. All right, let me back up. So, you want to highlight this. You want to say that it was around 8 million. Then you could also add that the two airports with the least passengers in the figure or in the diagram were about 2 million less. Okay, so then you could talk about maybe some percentages. So you could say that this was 25% more, or actually 33% more. So you could do some things like that to extend this. All right, now some of the language in this task was a little awkward. Okay, so not we can tell that Atlanta has the highest bar among the included places, but instead, um, the terminal with the highest figure of passengers served was Atlanta with approximately 7.8 million. Okay. Um, So then all you told us was Beijing with 7.5, but you could have said a little bit more about that. You could have said that it had 300,000 less. You could have said that maybe it had, I don't know, could you say like 5% fewer passengers served? So something like that. Okay. I think you get my point. Just showing a little flexibility with some terms here in order to make this a little more meaningful. And then you can use these numbers along the side to make the rest of your data, again, meaningful. You can then say something like the remaining 5 terminals were all above 5 million, all had above 5 million passengers, but considerably below 7.5 million. Okay. You can then say that Dubai was among these 5. Dubai had the highest number of passengers served, and you can talk about that number. You could say that the least were Los Angeles and Hong Kong, and you can talk about that figure. And then you can say that in between them were these two, and then you can talk about that. So talk about the differences between them, the similarities. Um, and then, if you want, like I said before, you could compare the figures for Hong Kong and Los Angeles with Atlanta. So that's how I would do this. We spent a lot of time on your task 1. Let's take a look at your task 2. Let's move on now to your task 2 about international marketing. Here's what you wrote. The world had become such a small place since the technology impacted the way we life in, and marketing play a significant role to reach people all around the globe. Some point viewers suggest that the method companies use are affecting societies negatively because of their limited focus, which only cover their aspect of the positive side. They attack the international marketing for its unclear goals. Also, they call the approach they are using as a playful way to seduce the clients. Okay, so Khalid, this had a lot of issues. All right. First of all, Grammatically and lexically, it had a lot of mistakes. Your punctuation has problems. You keep using commas, but commas make this whole paragraph one big sentence, and that's not a good idea. So it punctuation was incorrect. The words you used had they were, a lot of them were incorrect, and the grammar was kind of all over the place. The effect that this had is that it created incoherence, and that's not going to help you in terms of task achievement, or in terms of grammar, or in terms of coherence and cohesion. Okay, so let me see if I can try to clean some of this up so that we can make some sort of sense out of it. The world has become such a small space since technology has impacted the way we live. And marketing plays a significant role with an O to reach people all around the globe with a B. Full stop. I don't understand this at all. Then, some people suggest that the method companies are using affect with an A societies negatively. This doesn't make sense because of their limited focus. So I didn't really understand this. I mean, it's not clear to me that you're talking about international marketing. It's not clear what you mean here, their limited focus. So all of this was really kind of confusing to me. So, which only cover the positive side. Yeah, I'm really confused. This whole thing lost me from here on. They attacked the international marketing for it's without that apostrophe. Here you need an E. Unclear goals. That's not what the essay is talking about. It's not talking about unclear goals. And then here you needed a full stop for sure. And then it's not also, but it's on the other hand, some people believe this approach and not is a playful way to seduce. It's totally spelled wrong. It's seduce. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about seducing clients. We're talking about providing education and spreading ideas. So all of this is really off topic, and it's confusing, and you haven't expressed your opinion, which is what you're supposed to do. It says give your opinion. So we don't have it, and so all this is really just creating a lot of lack of clarity. Okay, so this should be on the one hand. Oh, what happened here? Is this a continuation of your introduction? That's confusing. So, on the other hand, others have a completely different view. Full stop. Their opinion considers IDERS, the educational side of the subject, spelling. Full stop. They suggest that this kind of marketing contains a huge benefit for the people who want to get familiar spelling with other cultures. Throughout global marketing, the spectator can be informed about such a new info related to strange nations and far countries. The international trade is also an important factor. Without this kind of marketing, the exporting and importing would face huge difficulty. Okay, so there's really a major problem with the way this essay is structured. It doesn't follow appropriate structure. So we really need to get you to understand how we structure essays. They need to have a clear introduction where you rephrase the topic and you answer whatever question this is. Okay. Then in an essay like this, you need to have one side covering the one viewpoint, another paragraph covering the other viewpoint, and then restating your position, and then leaving us with a thought-provoking statement. That's how it needs to be done. This has been done rather incorrectly. Let me look at this one. For my personal opinion, I can relate more with the scanned view because it is more convincing. The proofs are clear as much as the sun in the daylight. You can't miss on the positive result of the subject. However, there is a narrow possibility that the other group has a realistic argument. All right. Again, this isn't a properly structured paragraph. Vocabulary, spelling, grammar is all, it needs work. It's just at the very kind of basic level of grammar. And so we can kind of understand what you're telling us, but it's not really clearly developed. Okay. So here it's like you tell us that we can't miss the positive results. And then you say there is a possibility that the other group has a realistic argument. So all this is really rather confusing. Um, so it leaves the reader with not really understanding what your perspective is. Okay. So to summarize the topic, the ways of marketing could differ from one institution to another. Spelling. Unfortunately, ones can't control what's being advertised. The market today needs to become wider if we hope to grow. All right. So, yeah, this is an essay that really needs a lot of work in all the ways I already stated. I would advise you to really work on improving your overall general English. Okay. Get to the level where you can have the level of English to successfully complete an essay like this. Okay, that might be B2 level, perhaps C1, depending on what kind of IELTS score you need. But you need to get to that level of language first. And then, you can work on IELTS. You can try to do it at the same time. But I really want to see you working on improving your overall language level. Okay. I hope that information is helpful, and I hope to see you on the course. So good luck to you.